This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net. And today I have on another musician that, thanks to the company that he is working with, I get to learn more about Mayer Malik. And Mayer, one of the things I tell our listeners is so many of us, we get used to hearing the sounds that are on the radio or maybe something that somebody has shared with us, and we don't look any further. And the concept of these podcasts on New Cleveland Radio is to show that there is music all around us being written, performed, produced, recorded by so many talented people. And I think sometimes we have to take those blinders off, look around, because if we don't, we're not going to find some of the sounds that really make us feel good. So I was reading your bio, and you are the master of strings. Can you explain that?
It's true. It's true. My grandmother gave me a violin when I was 3 years old. She had survived the Holocaust, World War II, and she gave me this violin. It had belonged to her brother. You know, they lost everything, and she got this violin. She gave it to me when I was 3, and that's when my relationship with strings actually began. And you know, the truth is that a lot of children, when they come in contact with an instrument for the first time, someone tells them no or no, or
Yeah.
tells them, and then all of a sudden, their whole life they're just in that no, because they're scared to break something, because they want everyone's approval, which is natural and beautiful. The problem is they never learn that all strings are the same. Every single string, whether it's a guitar, a bass, a violin, a banjo, a mandolin, it's a string, and it has the same format, depending on, obviously, but the patterns are the same. And so really, if you learn one string, you can learn two strings, 3, 4, and you can learn all the strings just like that. And even piano is actually a bunch of strings, interesting enough, but it's obviously a different relationship to the strings. And I really do relate to the strings. I just, someone just posted, someone from, I think he's from Pakistan. He just posted a picture of a boy. I'm not sure if he was captive, but he was holding a gun, and it turned into a guitar, piece of art, something that he drew. You know, everything that's going on right now with Afghanistan.
Right.
And that inspired me to pull up a poem that I had written, must have been a decade ago. But if I had magic wands, I'd turn the guns into guitars, the bullets into strings, the fighters into stars. And I think strings have a really beautiful, I guess I am in love with strings. You're right. Let's just leave it at that. I'm in love with the strings. Yeah.
Well, you know, what I find interesting is that when somebody is playing a guitar, violin, mandolin, banjo, or even when my father tried to play the ukulele, it just, I could feel the music if I just went next to him. Okay.
Right.
Because there's that vibration. Whereas
Reverberation, right?
certain
Yeah.
other instruments, you may not feel that, but it went from his fingers up through his arm to his heart. And he wasn't the best ukulele player, I will tell you that. But it made me hear sounds that I probably would never have heard before. And I appreciate that. So when your grandmother gave you this violin,
Right.
memories that many of us have of our grandparents and relatives talking about the Holocaust, the violin was one instrument that was played a lot in the camps.
Right. Right.
So did it bring her peace that you were playing the violin, or did it bring back sad memories?
You know, I never asked her that. I was too young to ask that deep of a question. I was definitely in the moment. I think she was probably also very much in the moment. I think she was probably just happy that she had a grandson and happy that she can pass this violin, which belonged to her brother, on to her grandson. I actually went to visit the camps, and I went to the spot where the band would play.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when they were the Germans made them play it, people were walking to their death, and I went to that spot, and I brought a Martin backpackers guitar, and I got to play it there. I didn't bring the violin, By the way, you mentioned your father's ukulele and him playing from his fingers to his heart. Sometimes I wonder which direction, probably both, but probably from his heart to his fingers, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think my grandmother and I were probably both very much in the moment. Me at my very young, I think there's, you're born and you go through this thing without teeth, you can't walk, and you grow into this person, you go back, and all of a sudden you can't walk, you lose your teeth. And I think also children are very much in the moment, and I don't know because I've never been old. In this lifetime, at least, I've never been that old. My grandmother, she passed away when she was 99. I think she was very much in the moment. I think in a way that child was during that time. She was a bit of a comedian, like my father.
I love that.
Um, a special perspective on life. Yeah.
So, learning how to play the violin from a very young child, when did you sort of know that, you know what, this is my life? I'm going to play string instruments and I'm going to perform.
Yeah, I definitely did not know that at that age. At that age, pun fully intended, I was just fiddling around, and it was just something that I knew that I had, and I could hold it and play with it, and it just was immense to me to understand what that was, who it had come from, and it was just the thing that I knew that I had to keep my whole entire life, no matter what. It was that kind of feeling that I got with it. Eventually, my parents got me a piano teacher, and my piano teacher couldn't sit still. So we had to end lessons there. But it wasn't until, the sword from the stone really for me was in my parents' pizza shop in New York City. I had a pizza shop on between 37th, 38th on Broadway, very close to Madison Square Garden. And up where the humongous air conditioner unit was behind the office on the top floor, there was this electric bass. And I remember unzipping it and just putting my hand, opening it, looking inside and seeing these thick metal strings and this really cool body. And that was for me kind of like the sword from the stone, because I was alone and it was just me and this electric bass, and it was full of mystery. And I took that back to high school with me, and it had a little book to learn by yourself. And that's how when I started learning bass, that eventually led into guitar, because I was in the back of my friend's car hearing this album by C. Lansbaum, who was a Grammy Award guitar virtuoso. He actually produced Pete Seeger. I listened to this album, and it was beautiful, beautiful classical finger picking. And that was when I knew that I had to learn guitar. I called up C. Lansbaum and I said, "Hey, you want to teach me guitar?" He's like, "No." And I tried again, and I called him. I spoke to his wife. I was really persistent. And I eventually got him to teach me. And I studied with him for 2 years, and I put my heart and soul into it. And that's really when I got serious. And then using the musical theory that I had learned there, I'd actually transferred that through to the mandolin, which is in the violin family. Mandolin, violin,
Right.
The limb family, and the violin, mandolin have the same scales actually. And so the mandolin was kind of it's like a guitar shaped violin. So I was able to really interestingly enough, go back to the days of old, renew the days of old through going through the bass, into the guitar, into the mandolin, back into
Wow.
the violin.
So you grew up in New York City, and New York
Right.
is known for performers, entertainers. Some are making it very quickly, some are struggling.
Mhm.
So what made you think that maybe you would be different?
I didn't even think about it. I never thought
Okay.
about it. I didn't think about being different. I didn't think about making it. I knew that I had something inside, and I knew that I wanted to share it, and that I could share it. It was pure passion. It was pure passion. I still have that thing inside where I could feel it. It's indescribable. It's that thing that motivates me to play music, to make music. Um, and um, and I didn't think, oh, how am I going to be different? Why am I going to be like this? Or am I going to make it? I did always think that this is what I would do. Once I started doing, I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I'm doing now.
Right.
This is what I'm going to do. I also do remember learning very quickly it's so hard to say quick because that's a comparative word. It's so
Right.
sad to compare to other people, that I did see other people learning and struggling and not. Yeah, I didn't even have a guitar when I started lessons. I was just so motivated to do it. Um, but I just knew right when it was in my hands. It was the sword from the stone. It was like, this is it.
So what took you from New York to Israel?
Good question. I had
Mhm.
visited Israel 7 times before I actually made the move here.
Okay.
I was kind of when I was 15 years old, that was when I made the decision. I was here for Passover, and there was a family from the UK who was also here staying by the Dead Sea, and we were by the Dead Sea. And I was 15, so how could I be dating? But I was seeing, this girl from the UK, and I had the hots for her, and we decided let's just stay here this time. Let's not even go back to the UK to the US. Let's just stay here. And so we told our parents the good news, and they they of course said, maybe you should finish high school first or start college and see how that goes. We rushed as quick as we could to finish high school. I had finished high school when I was 16, 1 year early, so that I could make the move. And then you don't want to graduate with your class. And I did 1 year of early admissions to university, to college, and a half a year of just studying the Torah,
Right.
studying the Bible. So it was like half day, really intense. And then 17, I knew that I wanted to be here, and I came. There's something here which is very special, which the news won't show you, which nothing will show you except for the tree of life of experience. And there's something here, a certain quality of life, a certain caring for one another, a certain morale that exists here, where I remember shopping at Walmart up in East Stroudsburg in Pennsylvania when I was in sleepaway camp, and I remember the smiles that I got. I remember the smiles that I'd gotten, and some of them were genuine, but I think most of them were like customer service smiles. And there's no customer service smiles here. And that may sound bad, but it's really good because people here will take a bullet for you. It's something different. It's a certain, there maybe people aren't waiting online for the bus the same organized way they'll wait on the line in the States. But it's the same way that when you're at home, your sibling will take your chair, and that's okay because, hey, yeah, whatever, it's our chair.
Right.
There's that kind of feeling here, and I really do appreciate it. I really do like it, and it's actually been a great springboard for me to travel the whole entire world, because it's actually from here, when I was based from here, that I got all of these gigs. I think before Corona hit, I was on around between 75 to 100 airplanes just in
Wow.
2 years alone. Touring the world, a guitar, concerts, many places. Sometimes they were communities, and sometimes they were clubs, bars, venues, and they were all set up, really organized. I got to sell my debut album On the Way, which charted on Billboard as a result of all these sales, which are being reported to Nielsen SoundScan, who reports to Billboard, and it was a really special adventure. And I don't think it would have happened from New York. Potentially, well, I guess if the creator wants something to happen, it's going to happen anyways.
Well,
But I think the natural way that it did happen, though, was from here, and I think that was something that might have set me apart a little bit. So it's interesting that you did bring up, you're
right.
from New York. There's so many, and this from Israel. It's I guess I heard Ronnie Vance, a great mentor of mine. He was vice president of Geffen, Interscope. He signed Gwen Stefani, Tupac, Bruce Hornsby. He had told me once, it's easier to make a big splash in a smaller puddle than it is to make a big splash in an ocean.
Right.
And perhaps this is that smaller puddle, but definitely was not strategy. It was all just free, spur of the moment. I wanted to travel. I wanted to feel where I was. I wanted to be away from everyone and everything and be free as a 17-year-old. And that's what I did. And what's so cool? There's hitchhiking in Israel. Little children, I think, like from the age of 3, will even walk to kindergarten alone, and they'll grab a stranger's hand, cross the crosswalk, cross the street, let go, and that'll be it. They won't even look up, say hi, or thank you. It's a different mentality here, and hitching around this country was super incredible. Hitchhiking itself is a thrill, and when you know that when you're in good hands, it's really special as well. I know in America, I think it's not illegal, but I'm sure you can still do it. But you never know where you're going to end up hanging upside
Exactly.
down in someone's basement. And there, that kind of thing just exists much, much less here, So I'm really happy I made the move, and thank you so much for asking about that.
Well, I've had a number of friends who moved to Israel, some at a very young age, some as when they went to retire. And they
Mm,
all say the same thing, that from the States, we look at Israel as being, waiting for terrible things to happen. We don't
mm,
stop and listen to all the good things that are happening. We don't
mm,
hear about how Israelis and the Arabs can get along. We only hear about the bad stuff. And,
right.
a couple of my friends, I was very surprised that they moved because they had big, lavish houses here in the States. And, you know, everything was about the monetary for them when they lived here. But when they moved to Israel, it was all about the comfort and being with other people and sharing and learning. And so
Mm,
I'm really glad you said what you did, that I didn't lead you to it, because what you're telling me is what most people are experiencing, that it's just a beautiful place to live and people get along, and strangers help little children. And that's wonderful. Absolutely.
totally, totally. Yeah, thank you for saying that. I want to respond to what you said before I did. I just wanted to thank the creator for this water before I drink some.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
it's true. That there's no the news doesn't really report good news. Obviously, they make money on fear and bad news. I even once took a screenshot when I was watching CNN. I saw that they had written on the screen, they wrote fear. I was like, whoa, that's not even subliminal. Anyways, they unfortunately bad news sells, and there's more coexistence here in Israel than there is anywhere else that I've ever experienced. And I've traveled a lot. And some of the places that are most, let's say, hated upon for controversial purposes, like what they call, settlements, really the whole entire place, everything, the whole world's a big settlement. But,
right.
those are the places where the most coexistence is taking place. But of course, it's never reported on. And, that's not the way the world of the people who are
Absolutely.
in charge of those things. And yeah, it's definitely true. Sometimes I do think, if I would have stayed in Europe, maybe I would have had a bigger house, a nicer car. Um, and you definitely, I think you trade away quantity for quality in this move. It doesn't work out for everyone that way. It's definitely my experience.
Absolutely.
I'm sure everyone has a different experience, but it's interesting that you heard a similar train of thought from your friends who made that move. Yeah.
So I understand you have something new coming out, correct?
That's true. Yeah, we had just released Sensitive. I was super satisfied with this first release from this new sound that was created during the Corona, where I couldn't go out and live perform, and built this home studio and started collaborating with this incredible producer named Boaz van de Beets. We just really connected like brothers, such an organic relationship. We have the same birthday, we could share anything with one another, and then found out that we're really, really, really bros deep down. And that I'm a singer-songwriter. He's coming from the production world. We really complement each other. We are a super efficient work relationship. And so we just released this new version of Sensitive around July 23rd. It's been doing really well on Spotify, and the ratio of likes and comments to views on YouTube is blowing me away. I think it's like 1 out of 10 people are engaging, and so that really brings joy to my heart. That song itself, Sensitive, which is already out there, is it's a heartfelt one. It's like, it's got that. It's a little more lo-fi like that. And what we got coming out September 3rd. By the way, we decided we're just, instead of releasing an album in October, we're going to release a bunch of singles first, because the
Oh, I
momentum is
love
so
that.
great. It's
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah. But September 3rd, we're releasing Loving Woman, which is very exciting. Definitely more upbeat. It's cool that we're releasing it in the start of September, because we're kind of dragging the upbeat of the summer into the new school year, which is really special. I think that's good. I don't want it to be like, oh, new school year, let's get down. No, I want it to be like, new school year, let's get down.
Right.
So yeah, we're going to be releasing Loving Woman. That's great. That song's a prayer to find your soulmate, and for those who are trying to have children, because it's really not in our hands. Even the greatest doctors, and God bless them, sometimes they can do some great things, but unfortunately, everyone knows, well, fortunately we are in the creator's hands. And my friend, I had a friend who was trying to have children for 10 years, and they've tried so many things and nothing was working. And I have another friend who had 5 kids on 4 different kinds of birth control. So it's something a little beyond this. And so I thought it was a prayer. And and that's Loving Moments, totally upbeat. And I highly recommend checking it out for sure when it comes out September 3rd. Thanks so much for mentioning it.
Well, and I want our listeners to know, when you go out to Spotify or your favorite venue to get the music, I can't stress enough, please pay for it. Um,
Mm.
it really disturbs my heart when someone like Mayer is very into his music. He's spending time creating it, producing it, recording it, and then we all go listen to it for free. Um, we need to pay it forward, and to pay it forward means, you know, get your Spotify um, membership or iHeart, wherever you want to listen, and just don't download it and pass along to everybody else. Let them listen to it, but then have them go pay for it as well.
Oh, you're the sweetest. Thank you so much for saying that. Yeah, it's incredible how the times have changed, where things where there was always whoever you wanted to be. So you could buy the CD or you could burn the CD.
Right.
And back then, people, brick and mortar stores, so people were making much more in albums, but you can always choose. Life's, what it reminds me of something I heard from David Sachs, who has a podcast called Spiritual Tools for an Outrageous World. And he was talking about, so listen, if your soul is a piece of the creator and your body's just going to disintegrate, so who am I? Who are you? Anyway, are you the creator? Or your body? Who am I? And he said that you're your decisions, And so I guess when it comes to the music, it's like, who are you? Are you that person? Are you the burner, or are you going to try to support the arts? And it's so crazy how nowadays everyone is renting music, essentially, because if you are paying Spotify, you don't own the songs, because when you stop paying Spotify,
Right.
you lose the songs. So
Right.
you're essentially renting music. So it's really interesting. So on one hand, it's like, yeah, you want everyone to go ahead and pay their Spotify membership, and then maybe the Spotify will pay artists 0.000000002
Yep.
instead of 0.000000001. Maybe that would be great. But there are ways to still make purchases directly to the artist, and I actually have to go ahead and post new stuff there. But Bandcamp, or I have a Shopify store, whatever it is, and that's really the best way to support artists. And everyone can do whatever they can do. Hopefully, just everyone doesn't have to think about it, and hopefully everyone could just enjoy the music and let that do the work.
Well, I mean, when I was growing up, this, really ages me, but when I liked, some new music, I went and bought that 45, and I came home and I played it till I wore it out. And then I had to go
Mm.
buy another one. Um, and, I don't know how much performers were even getting back then on them, but at least that's how we heard our music. And, I just want people to be fair. And I know the best way to hear music is a live performance. So, you had mentioned before the virus, you had been traveling a lot and performing. So, what does it look like now that things are hopefully settling down with COVID and all the alterations of this disease?
Yeah, to me it sounds like getting the band back together, but with a newer sound. Because during Corona, I created a newer sound. Um, we had just right before Corona hit, we had played this show in this incredible art exhibition. It was epic. It was basically, there was this guy named Yoram who collected beautiful windows his whole life. He was a window collector. Just
Wow.
average windows, gorgeous, gorgeous, special windows, all the most amazing kinds of wood and glass and shapes and combinations thereof. And when he passed away, his son inherited all of these windows. And his son, together with the Mikudeshet Festival, built this incredible 2-story or 3-story wooden window structure, built all out of windows, so colorful. And thank God they had asked my band to play a show there. So that was our last show as a band, and that was so beautiful. It's going to be hard to beat that, but that's the way we got to roll in life, always going up. If you're not going up, you're going down. Life is like a down escalator. And so we hope to do something even more epic than that for our next live show. Um, I'm hoping that the recorded music as well will bring us somewhere even greater than before as well. It's a new sound, so it's going to be different. I'm excited for it. Um, and I do hope that things begin to open up, but even if they don't, there's nothing can stop the art. Nothing can stop the art. So if things don't open up again really soon, there's still songs to release. There's still recording to be done. Whatever the creator wants. If it's going to be internal work, we're going to do the internal work. It's going to be going out and doing the work outside. It's going to be doing the work outside, and they're both fine with me. And I'm happy to go with the flow and not be a victim and not be a complainer, but really adversity to advantage, and understand that life is like an ice cream cone and you have to learn to lick it.
Yep. Well, I'm impressed with how many performers were doing, live shows from
Mm.
their home, and
Yeah.
oftentimes having their band all zoom in for these shows.
Mm.
And we found another creative outlet. And we also found there was a way for us to still enjoy a concert and feel like we were sitting in the audience. Um, so I've listened to more music than ever would have because
Wow.
of Corona. Because I had a little bit more time. I wasn't driving anywhere. I was
Right.
stuck in my condo with the only time I went out, I think, was to grocery shop. So
Mm.
um, I so believe in so much that you are saying, that if it's something that you want to do and something that you believe in, there is a higher power that will help us get there, but we have to believe. And if you don't believe, you can sit around and say, boy, I want to be the best guitarist ever. And if you don't pick up a guitar and use it, you won't be the best guitarist. And I
True.
told somebody, about 7 years ago, radio was supposed to be my thing when I graduated college.
Mm.
And everybody looked at me and said, you'll never make it. Women will never be in radio. And so I
Wow.
went back for my master's, and 7 years ago, when I completed it, somebody said to me, just open up your computer and you can be on the radio too. And like you, I don't count my success in dollars. I count my success in talking to individuals like yourself and sharing you with the world. And it warms my heart. At the end of the day, I've done my good deed.
That's right. You definitely have. And as a result, also, I pray that you be blessed to measure success in all of the departments as a result. And no matter which way it's going to come to you, because
Absolutely.
you're putting it out there and you're such a good person, a good heart, a beautiful smile. And
Thank you.
I'm so happy that you went into radio, not just because of your beautiful voice, but also now you're doing the video radio, and because of your face as well. So that's a big pleasure. So,
Well, I
and
appreciate that.
thank you for being you, and being vulnerable enough to share yourself with the world. I appreciate that.
Sure. So in 2 weeks, we're going to be celebrating the Jewish high holidays. So
Mm.
since I have you here and you're in Israel, is there a big difference in how it's celebrated in Israel than how it is in the US?
Yeah, there really, really, really is. And the best analogy that I could think of, I actually heard it from the late Menachem Mendel Schneerson, also known as the Rebbe of Lubavitch, who is located in Crown Heights, New York. I read it. I wasn't sure if it was him quoting one of his teachers or if it was him. Either way, it's all coming from the same place. And I think he was comparing observance outside of the land of Israel where it was intended to be kept versus, inside. And he said that it's the equivalence of a baby eating through the umbilical cord. So observing outside of Israel, you're still doing it. You're still getting the nutrients, but it has no taste. And doing it inside of Israel, it's kind of like when you're born and it has a different flavor. Now, of course, it's always going to be dependent on who you're with or what energy you're putting out. And I have been in places outside of Israel that were extremely fervent and full of feeling, and I've been places in Israel that were less. But I could say overall, in terms of all of the festivals, when they're here where they were, intended to be kept, it's like a plant planted in it's the soil that it was born in, as opposed to a different soil. And it's a world of a difference. That is the most esoteric analogy that I could think of. I apologize, I couldn't give you
Oh no, that's
something a little
perfect.
more literal. But in terms of the high holy days in general, if there's anything I could say to anyone who may attempt to observe them, is that through this deep, dark, bitter exile, the observance has unfortunately taken a turn for the best thing I could think of is that Yiddish word for kvetch, like
Yeah.
oi. It's turned
Yeah.
into oi energy, and really, it's not supposed to be that. And Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, everyone's saying, "Oh, let's be scared. It's Judgment Day, Yom Hadin." But really, you're being judged by someone who loves you, and to say, "Oh, he knows all your thoughts." That's good. You have good thoughts. You have good intentions. You're a good person. It's really supposed to be that. And the Jewish New Year is actually not even celebrated in the first month. It's celebrated in the 7th month.
Yeah.
So that tells you that you can always start again.
Right.
And after that is this month of Yom Kippur, which a lot of people, they think of, oh, I have to go to synagogue for this Yom Kippur service, and they think of Larry David and that,
Yep.
Curb Your Enthusiasm scene. And it's like there's this guy up there's like this whole thing, and it's boring, and oh man, and I can't eat, and everyone just so. But really, if you look in the sources, it's supposed to be the happiest day of the year. Everyone's supposed to wear white. People are supposed to unite. People are supposed to find each other soulmates, and it's internet. It's like a International Love Day. Everyone, unconditional love day, unconditional forgiveness day, because everyone forgives each other, hopefully. But for sure, they say the day itself is atoning. So you don't even have to do anything. You don't have to go to synagogue. You could literally sin all day long and you'd still be forgiven, because it's unconditional forgiveness day, and that's a big celebration that there is such a thing as unconditional love and forgiveness. And so it's actually supposed to be a really joyous day. And so that's something, if anyone hears this and they're out there in the exile still or in this or in Israel, and they're still not celebrating it, hopefully you can put on a different pair of lenses and goggles and celebrate it through the eyes of what I think the Torah is saying. In the way the Torah is, you're supposed to celebrate it with joy.
And the beautiful part of the world today, you can participate online just like you and I are doing right now. It's not about, I always thought of the high holidays in the States as being so commercialized because you don't go to temple or synagogue without a ticket. And if you don't have a ticket, you can't go. And in my earlier part of my marriage, we didn't have money to go to temple. And it always bothered me because I was brought up as these are the holy days. And I finally found a temple and I went to them and I said, this is my situation. And they said, we don't want to leave you out in the cold, whatever you need. And now today we can do it on Zoom. And you can do Shabbat services. And I've been to a Shabbat service in Israel on Zoom. So you can get the best of all worlds. But I love what you said about it's all about us forgiving each other. Most of all, we have to forgive ourselves for the things that maybe we didn't do so correctly. So
So
again,
true, Karen. I love that, and thank you for reminding me of that. I once heard that question of, why is it, if everyone is forgiven, if the Creator forgives everyone after Yom Kippur, why do people go back to their old ways? And the answer, I think I heard from Rabbi Goldstein from Mount Zion. He said exactly what she said, because people don't forgive themselves, and that's such a deep lesson. Thank you for reminding me of that. That's beautiful. I appreciate it. And I'm so sorry that you were ever rejected from a house of prayer due to monetary issues. That's really bothersome, and that is not the way the things are supposed to be intended to be. And as a matter of fact, I think everyone was counted the same just a half shekel, no matter how rich or how poor you are. And this whole thing with the memberships, and this is all exile. It's a clear sign of exile, and it's a problem when people are worshiping money. And we all know that that's unfortunately probably the god of many people these days
Right.
is money, and we really do need to fix that. So thank you for speaking up about that, and may we all
Sure.
fix that really soon.
So tell us again about your newest release so that everybody can be ready for beautiful September.
Yes, beautiful September. I love that. September 3rd, and the name of the song is "Loving Woman." You could just follow me on Spotify now by searching my name, Mayer Malik, Mayer Malik. You can follow me there, and this way, when "Loving Woman" comes out on September 3rd, you can check it out. And the music video, which we just finished filming, is going to be out exactly 7 days later on September 10th. Really exciting. Stav Smile, she is an incredible roller skater. And we have
Wow.
casted her as our loving woman. And it's showing that, a loving woman is herself and having fun, and it's supposed to be enjoyable in this life. So enjoy no matter how beautiful people think you are, don't think you are, doesn't matter. You have something, a talent that you could share. And we're even thinking of trying to empower women through this song. And I hope we are successful doing so.
Very good. Well, stay in touch with us. I'm going to be following you now that I've listened to your music. Um, and I will
Thank you,
remind
Karen.
all of our listeners again, follow Mayer, and all those links will be in the description of today's podcast. Want to wish you a Lashana Tova, and maybe
Thank
next
you.
time you come over to the States, I have family in the New York area. I'll come meet up with you, and maybe you can play a song for me on your guitar.
I would love that. That would be my greatest pleasure, my greatest honor. And I'm sure I'll be there soon. I always stop to JFK. It's one of those places. But if you also come to this side of the world, my home is your home. I'd love to host you and give you a special tour and show you some of the innate beauty here. And thank you so much
Wonderful.
for having me on your show. And I'm giving you a virtual hug. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.
Talk to you soon.